And now,
Hire Away with Collins Harlan.
Welcome to Hire Away. Hire Away is a show where we talk about jobs, we talk about business, but importantly, we talk with the people that are operating those businesses and doing those jobs. So these are people with real skin in the game. My name's Collins. I'm a staffing specialist with Labor Finders. And in St. Louis, we have a branch in North County and one in South County. And of course, we have branches all over the country. So if you're looking for people, if you're looking to hire, all you have to do is go to the website, laborfinders.com. That's laborfinders.com. And then you just find the branch nearest you, call them up, and they'll help you out. Today's show is actually kind of a special one because we have a very dear client coming on, but not just the client, who is Jason Jackson. He's the operations manager of Dr. Brown's baby bottles. And it's a very well-known brand. Anybody that's had a baby probably knows who they are. But he also has brought with him a warehouse clerk named Jason Avila. And Jason came through our service and has now been hired on by Dr. Brown's proper. But what's really special is that he didn't just come from our service. When companies come to Labor Finders, a lot of times they're looking for people not just for a project or a week or two. They're looking for people 40 hours a week that can work 3 or 4 months and then be converted onto the company payroll. So people that can prove themselves for a few months. And the problem that is kind of inherent in the whole staffing service proposition is that a lot of these people that we find, not a high percentage of them are very serious about that, and they end up having not so good attendance and things of that nature. So we had a problem to solve, which is how do we find people for this company that would look at this as not just a job, but an actual opportunity in their life? Because if they look at it that way, then they're more likely to covet the opportunity and use it to better themselves. So we found a demographic of people, and that's where this Jason Avila, who you'll meet in a second, was found. And we've had really good luck with that demographic. So without further ado, let's meet them both. Let's do it.
Hire Away!
Jason Avila. Is it Avila or Avila?
Avila.
Avila. I had a friend, Tony Avila, so I should have got that right,
Right.
And Jason Jackson, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jason Avila, you've been working at Dr. Brown's now for how long?
Just under a year.
Yeah.
Right at a year.
And you're doing well because Jason Jackson, you're the operations manager, and you've told me so. So you're moving up in the company, man. That's good.
They definitely have me on a trajectory. So it's.
Why do you think that is? So like what made you, what makes you successful, or why is that happening for you?
Well, I've always had a work ethic that I've brought.
That's huge.
But with where I'm at now, between Jason here and Rolandis, my other manager at the branch, the opportunities they present me with have, how do I put it? They've been placing opportunities in front of me to just keep taking steps forward.
That's important. I mean, you got to have a path, you got to see something at the end of the tunnel to go for, right? But I like that word that you just used, opportunity, because I met you at the Salvation Army.
Right.
Do you remember that day?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I came and we all pray together, and then the class begins and all that stuff. You remember David Q, Dr. David Q?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So, but one thing that I always talk about when I'm in front of that class is we need people in Labor Finders for our clients that view these openings as opportunities, not jobs.
Right.
And you guys, that class is chock full of guys like you. And I remember you coming in and filling out your application. And so I don't want to talk all over you here. One of the things that makes you successful is that you viewed it as an opportunity for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about that program, that ARC program, and what that was like, and what your state of mind before you went in, after you got out of that program.
Well, when I went in, I was fresh. I just done 2 years in prison.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't really know how to describe it.
I imagine you weren't feeling real confident.
No, the time I was there, even to walking into your office, I still had quite a bit of self-doubt, lack of confidence kind of, in general, going through that whole process. So
what was the actual, because this is something that I don't have information on. I come every 2 or 3 months, speak for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I go home. The class continues. All these people's lives continue. What's a typical day life like in that program?
It's, well, they have, you like work for the Salvation Army in that program, whether it's in their warehouse or in their kitchen or,
I see. Is it
so? I mean, there's you do like a 8-hour day, like working for them, and
So-
then it's classes, 4 or 5 nights a week. It's a pretty busy schedule.
That's what I was wondering. You
Yeah.
know, so you're basically, it's kind of mimicking life outside of that.
In a way, yeah. I didn't carry like the greatest like positivity out of that program with me, so like I'm I probably don't sound real comfortable like talking about.
No, that's okay. You're being honest.
Being there. So I don't know if like that. Talking about the Salvation Army is like the best thing to throw in here.
So it was kind of it was an experience you had. It was another opportunity. You had to take that opportunity.
Well, it was kind of a necessity.
Gotcha.
I needed a home plan. I needed somewhere to land, and that was my best option at the time.
And you took it.
So I had to take a situation to make the best of it. So, and walking out of there and walking into knowing I have to find a job today. Is what took me to your office.
Well, I'm really glad that you remembered us and came to our office, because it's been absolutely amazing watching your progress or hearing about it through Jason there. Jason Jackson, operations manager, Dr. Brown's. Dr. Brown's, everybody that has a baby knows who that is my impression.
If you're female, mostly.
Right.
A lot of the guys don't.
The guys are out golfing, but the females are feeding the infants. So, but it's a well-established brand, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But it's been around. I did a little research. It's been around a really long time, and different names and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Dr. Brown's and who is Dr. Brown? Was he a real guy?
Yeah, so Dr. Brown, and I don't know the official story, but, I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit, but from what I know, Dr. Brown was a real person that designed the flow of the bottle. And it's basically the design of the bottles for like colic. It does some special things with air and stuff when they suck on the bottle.
I see.
I want to say the bottle's been around for a good 30 years now. It seems like it's been that long, 25 to 30 years. I don't know where, Dr. Brown fits in with the family, but like Carl and like Scott, the owners, they distribute the Dr. Brown's line. The company that we distribute under was Handicraft, which is a long-time company. It used to be a toy manufacturer, before the bottles came into play. And I want to say we're in our maybe second year now where we actually changed our name from Handicraft to the Dr. Brown's company.
You mentioned like 30, 40 years, but I think somewhere I read it was like the company itself, it has origins are even older than that.
Yeah, so I believe I want to say 2019, they celebrated the 100-year anniversary.
Holy cow. So they're well over 100 years old.
Right. Wow. So They went, they had some other companies that were kind of, and I don't know how they all play in together. And I believe Carl had a brother, and he owned a portion of another part of the company, and then Carl owned, I think, the handicraft portion. So they had like Swing Away, which did a lot of can openers and stuff like that. And then they had, I think, like they used to make like those steel stroppers for like the old time shaving things.
Oh, where they sharpen the razors?
Yeah. So like I've never heard of that. That was nothing I would ever use. I never heard of that, and I got there and they're like stropper. And they told me what it was. I'm like, oh, that's new to me.
Yeah.
But the can openers, I remember having the can openers along
along the line, didn't they start out making toys or something?
Yeah, so they were manufacturing toys like play phones and can banks. They had like pig banks, can banks, batons. It's kind of funny because, I've known and been around the company like my whole life, so I've known the family and stuff. And if you go look back at the some of the old toys, like Carl's daughter, Dorothy, she's a little bit older than me. She's on the cover of these bottles. I can see her picture when she was younger. Some of the other kids and stuff like that. I always heard, I'm pretty positive it's the case, but I believe that the Poltergeist movie, where she's on the play phone, I believe that's one of our phones.
That's an interesting bit of St. Louis trivia.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of those. I've had a lot of those toys as a kid.
Being the ops manager at Dr. Brown's, obviously you guys hire your own people. Like Labor Finders is an employment service, but I'm sure you also hire your own people here and there.
It's happened a couple of times. The bulk of the staff that I've kind of came together since I've been there have mostly been temp to hire. We've had, I want to say 2 from the outside come in, and they had somewhat of a connection, there. One was he's probably been there, he was there 6 years, and I think he ended working there maybe like a month or 2 ago. The other one's been there 3 or 4 years, and he's still currently there.
And these people all came from
those people were just hired from the outside.
Gotcha.
They were interviewed by me, and then I hired. There was 3 full-time people there when I got there. One was a forklift driver that just retired last year, and 40-something years. Close to 50, 45 years he worked there.
Wow.
And then Kelly, who works at the Hazelwood location for me, she's my longest employee now. She's probably 14 or 15 years in.
It's fantastic.
And then Richie, who was one of my leads, who tragically passed away in an accidental death. So
sorry.
He was a big loss, and then we've kind of, all the leads have kind of like circled around, and we've kind of, upped a lot of the jobs that we didn't have before. There's more leads. There's supervisors now. There's managers. That's all stuff we didn't have before.
Okay, so you obviously utilize temporary services as part of your recruiting strategy, and it works. Would you say?
I would say it does. I like the fact that. It's not just an interview in a room where I'm speaking to somebody and I got to read somebody pretty quick within 30, 40 minutes to kind of get a vibe on like who they are. Typically, and when I reach out, especially to you guys, I don't reach out for a skill set. I reach out for the character in a person. I don't know how common that is, but if you tell me you got somebody that's a pretty good guy or a lady, have a good attitude, and they're ready to work, that's my person. I don't need anything else. That's all I want.
You can train.
We can train, and then there's two type of people that I kind of look when they come in there. They're the first person is that we teach them the intermediate part of the job, and if that's all they're good at, we need that person. We're fine with that. And then we get, sometimes we're always on the look, and this is usually my ask with you, but we're always looking for that secondary person that comes in there that get the entry level part of it, work hard at it, and then in the back of our mind we're always like, well, what else can they do?
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. So I'm guessing that when you met Jason here, he kind of fit that bill then.
Right. So when he came in originally, so you can get noticed pretty.
Wait, Jason, don't blush. Just kidding. Go ahead.
When you come, you can get noticed pretty easily. You know, when I walk out on the floor, you know, when I see a lot of times it's like, well, I see the same guy playing on his phone.
Yeah.
I see the one person start to work when they see me, you know, or they start moving. You know, some of them don't realize I have cameras everywhere in the building, and that's how I really see like who works, you know, when I'm not around. 'Cause my philosophy, and I have, you know, every couple months, you know, I always tell them, and it's not about like theft or anything like that. I always tell them, you know, like, I just need you to be responsible in the building, whether I'm looking at you or whether I'm not there. Just do what you need to do, you know? So for him, you know, I'd come out there and he just head down and was working. So it didn't take that long. You know, it's like a week or two in to Rolandis, he's my assistant manager. I'm like, hey, what do you think about him? He's like, works hard and is always busy. Doesn't say much. So after a couple of weeks, we're like, well, make sure, you know, you're telling him, you know, he's doing good and stuff like that. Rose kind of like that.
Why? I mean, some of these things may seem obvious, but you seem to have much intention there. You wanted to make sure that Rolandis went to Jason and he knew that he was being appreciated. How does that figure into your strategy? Because he's not hired on yet.
Right.
So
I mean, there's a few. I mean, there's multiple types of people that come in through the temp agency, as you know. You know, I got some that probably come in there selling that they want to be there for a long time, but maybe they only want to be there for a couple days, then move on. I get some other ones that want to maybe be there a while and do it, but I mean, the thing is, it's like when I see that I think someone could be special, I'm thinking other people are going to see that they're special too, or you know, maybe they're not looking for us. They're looking past us.
Right.
And I don't want them to look past us. I want to make sure they're looking at us. And then if another opportunity comes up, whether it's better or not, because this kind of happened with him a little bit. If there's another opportunity that's better, can we compete with it?
Yeah.
Because you like being here.
Yeah.
And we value you being here. So I like to do that early on because, as you know, they got to put in, you know, 3 months or 4 months for their hours to get hired in. And it's like, that's a long time.
Right.
You know, in reality, it's a short time in life, but it's a very long time when you're working and you want to get hired on, you want maybe a bump in pay or just the satisfaction to know that maybe you're kind of locked into a place. They want you. So like, I try to do that because I can't hire yet.
Right.
So it's like, let's get Roe to make him believe we want him.
Yeah. Was that, I mean, putting you on the spot here, but assuming that Rolandis was telling you, hey, you know, you're doing a great job. We really like.
Yeah, it was I don't know if it was a complete turning point, but it was it was a thought to pivot on because like I would say the first at least few weeks, maybe the first month I was there, I was ambivalent to do I like it? Do I hate it? Can I deal with it? It was, I had to have a job right now and it was filling a void right away. So I guess the main thing about it is with it being through a temp service, when I went in, I think part of my mixed feelings on it were, I had never used a temp service before.
Right.
So the situation was unique to me. And I felt a little, and I don't want this to sound too negative, but I felt a little downgraded by needing to use a temp service.
That's a very common reaction, by the way.
But with the situation I was in, like I couldn't just take a resume to any place.
Right.
And here's the last 2 years of my life. Here's, my last work history is almost 4 years ago. I couldn't, you're not getting a look. So this, I was able to get in the door, and by the time I figured out how I felt about the job, I was able to have like an extended interview over that couple weeks or month to speak for itself, as opposed to me having to just say, well, here's what this says, but trust me, that's not me.
Absolutely.
I was able to show that wasn't me.
That's right.
So that was as much as the positive from him and Rolandus both. I think that played just as much of a part in my own motivation. You
were in a really tough spot, yeah. And so you couldn't be as picky as you might have been. And it does feel like a downgrade if you've never used a service before. A little secret, by the way, I started as a temp, not for labor finders, but in a factory in Granite City. They made not Kool-Aid, it was those Capri Suns or whatever. It was Kraft Foods in Granite City. And so I know what it's like, But we get people in your situation and in other situations that answer some of our ads, especially for skilled work. And as soon as they find out we're a temporary service, you can hear them. You can hear the phone just being sucked away from their ear, heading for the receiver. They want to hang up, And I'm constantly having to catch them and say, before you hang up, we're a temp service. I hate that because so many manufacturers these days, that's how they're bringing people in, and the landscape has changed so much with the job seeker market. Like I'd tell you guys when I'd speak in Salvation Army, a lot of these job applicants, they're just not as serious as they used to be. It's a job, and they're not even sure they want one. Right. That doesn't work. So it's interesting that you felt that way, but it's very common. But so as a combination of both then, the positive reinforcement, but just the opportunity to have like a working interview, they're not just interviewing them, you're kind of interviewing Dr. Brown's to see if it's going to take. Yeah. So that's an interesting point. It's a kind of an interview for both client and applicant, really. Right. And you get paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, we really want people that really want to be there. It's a two-way thing. So, I agree with that. If anyone can be the best worker in the world, if they don't really like that job, I don't see them staying with us for a long time. Yeah. So we hope they like us.
Well, and so, you and I have talked for a long time before this interview, obviously, and what I get from you is I'm just going to say it, you're my favorite client. Talking about sucking up here. Anyway.
You probably said that to them all.
Oh, I say it. Yeah, you got me. But there's reasons for it. You really care about the culture and, what's going on in your plant. You're on it. You're not an absentee landlord. You make good decisions, and you invite us into those decisions sometimes, so we get to feel like a partner to you. And to be honest, that's when a staffing model works best. If there's buy-in from the client and they trust you enough to make you part of some of these discussions and think of you more as a partner than a vendor, well, then that means a lot, And I'm wondering, the culture at Dr. Brown's, I'm thinking it didn't just start with you. It probably comes from the top down, maybe. I don't know. Can you talk about like leadership out there? And
when I came there, I was, there's the front office upstairs. They're kind of the order entry. They're the front part. We're the back part. I don't think the warehouse and the upper office with the order entry was real smooth at working together. Mm. So it took me a while to kind of win them over, but like we went from kind of not pitted against each other, but we weren't really team. Like we're a team now. Like I'm up there every day. I go up there every day to see what's going on. Nice. We talk about other things than just work. When they make a mistake, it's like the one thing I hate is like you made a mistake. It's like whenever you made a mistake or you failed, like we all failed. Nice. So like before it was like, oh, well, you did this. That's what caused us. And, now it's more like, yeah, we didn't do this right, or we didn't do this right. And we accept that something happened and we all move on.
Nice.
So I think that's one of the biggest things that like I was really proud of. I think after, my first couple of years there, it's, that dynamic is really good now. It's not just, the employees I get and stuff like that, because to be honest, and I've said this before, it's like I think I'm really unorthodox at how I do things. They, on paper, they seem to work. So if that means I'm doing something right, maybe it is. Maybe I'm getting lucky. I don't know, but I don't, unless something needs to be changed, I'm just going to go ahead with what I believe should be done, especially with, people and hiring people and stuff like that.
What I'm hearing is better to ask forgiveness than permission, and I'm saying that in a good way.
Yeah.
Because you're assertive and you're not going to wait and get all the I's and T's crossed. If you see something that needs to be done, you're just going to do it. If it doesn't work, you won't do it again, but you're going to do something. And you seem to really care about your employees. Have you guys seen growth? The economy's been kind of a guessing game lately, with the tariffs and everything. And we've seen manufacturing is just kind of, flat. Although we did add a few jobs this last job report, but not really a lot, But has your industry, and specifically Dr. Brown's, what's your business like? Have you seen growth?
Yeah. So I don't look, into the numbers like Shelby, our CFO, does and stuff like that. But I just know when we were designing this new system, we were building a warehouse and they were designing the building with racking and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the design incorporated that we would have 20% growth every year for the next 5 years.
That's our 5-year target.
That was our 5-year plan.
Yeah.
If you go back to, I guess I've been there almost 9 years, or right around 9 years. So I'm pretty much double that 5-year plan, and we've doubled a few times.
You're talking about the 20% target. You've doubled that.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. But
I just remember how big the orders were. Like when you look at one of the major customers, how many thousand cases those were 9 years ago, and they're 5 and 6 times the size.
So you don't really need to see the numbers proper. There's more product coming through.
I know,
shipping out.
I know. So Gail runs the upper office. I know Carl, the owner, he gives a monthly kind of forecast of what the sales should be.
I gotcha.
So I like beating his number. Yeah. I have no control on anything that comes in that can help him beat his number. But when we get to the end of the month, and if I know we're close, and if I can push anything up and change how they're doing something to get one thing out earlier to make that number, that's what I'm going to do, because I want him to get his number.
I was going to say, you can't change the way they sell the product, the way they market the product, but by hiring the right people and going through a service so that you can take a look and see who you want to actually bring on, conscientious people, so that when you see first of all, conscientious people so that they do the job right and you don't have product being shipped out wrong, to the wrong places, the wrong number of, all that stuff. But that enables you to, when you see a situation, you want to make a change, they're going to deliver for you because they're who they are. So it's, you do have that. That's probably a really big, everybody always talks about marketing and sales, but really, delivery on what you're selling is huge.
Yeah. We, I try to be a little bit proactive rather than reactive. So, whatever we can turn over in 5 days, I want to do it in less time because I need to anticipate that the orders are going to get bigger. So what can I do if anything bigger comes in? I have to take the crew that I have now, because there's only so much magic you can do if something comes in and I only got a day to do it. You're not going to probably help me that day. I need to kind of already be internally ready to kind of do that. But if it forecasts bigger and it kind of grows over the next couple of weeks, you can help me get some people in there to manage that extra work.
And again, the partnership is helpful because you feel comfortable giving us a call. And one thing I like about the way you work with us is you've always told me, Collins, if you look, I don't have a position right now, but if you do find somebody who you think is a Jason, sorry, don't blush. But if you think, fits the mold like Jason does, please call me, because I want to know about that person, maybe find them something to do in the plant or something.
Well, Jason wasn't originally an ask. That was Jason. You called me and told me I got a guy that you don't
is that how that worked? Yeah.
You called me and told me I got a guy from the Salvation Army that I think you're going to like.
I didn't remember. The reason I don't remember is because we've placed a few people out there from that program, and you were a year ago, and in between I just kind of
that was him. You called me with him. Well,
and I called you because you had before that given me the instruction, do that, and so I'm like, okay, boss, I will, and well, that's good, because that's the way it should work, And what's interesting about that is when I talk to these guys in that program, I tell them, I'm like, look, week or two before you graduate, here's my card. Call me on my cell, just call me on my cell so I remember who you are, and then I'm going to work for you to do that. So thank you, Jason, for remembering to call me. Absolutely. Because we wouldn't be sitting here if you hadn't reached out. Right. So, but that's the way it's supposed to work, and that's fantastic. I had forgotten all about that, actually. And I think what else I was going to say about that is my nightmare is that one of you guys call me and then I have nothing for you, and then I'm a liar.
If they're good, I got an opening.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. If you're good, I got an opening. And we appreciate working with you that way, Jason, because, a lot of clients, they don't have that control, or maybe just that mindset, I imagine some can't do that, but I kind of wonder sometimes if that isn't just a winning mindset, because you don't know you can't possibly know. You mentioned the forecast. They try to give you a forecast, but who knows? You might get hit by a huge Amazon order or something, right?
Yeah.
And so to have people in the pocket like that, that's a winning strategy. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always, whatever labor I have, I want that labor. I want them to run out of work. I mean, I don't, we do volunteer off and stuff like that. I never force anyone. I wouldn't do that to them. I don't want anybody to leave because I don't give them 40 hours, but we're pretty much 40 hours a week. But I want them to run out of work because I want them available if something comes in. So let's do this and run out of work. Let's not go slow to get your hours in. I'll get you your hours. I mean, you may not like sweeping or cleaning up, but we'll do something.
Right. We'll keep you on the clock.
Right.
Now, Jason, what kind of work did you do before this? Like before you had your problem?
I was at a shingles roofing supply company for about 6 years prior.
Okay.
To come in, I guess I was last there in 2018.
Okay.
So it's been a while in between.
Were you like a material handler or?
Yeah, delivery, and then there was the last 2 years I was there. I was in the warehouse,
operating a forklift.
Loading, unloading trucks, putting orders together. So
I imagine this is a question for both of you. I guess I imagine that skill set, like forklift, probably comes into play at some point here in his career with you.
It's a lot. It's a little less than typical warehouses, I think. Like you've been in there. We're fairly small. We have 3 lifts. It's pretty crowded in there with 3 lifts going. We don't always need forklift drivers. We rarely ask for one. I figure, if I got somebody that's pretty level-headed and decent, at just responsible, I can train them.
Yeah.
We can get our own forklift driver. That's an ask I usually don't have because
you can do it organically. Yeah.
And that's what I want to do.
Because it brings them up a level. Like that's another level of pay, right? If you could, if you're officially, you have levels, right? Like they can move up in the company.
Yeah, so there is, and so like the thing is, a lot of that stuff is fairly new with the company because we've just grown so quickly. Having assistant managers or supervisor or leads, that's all relatively new in the past few years. That wasn't a thing, 6 or 7 years ago.
It's kind of a smaller operation.
Smaller, and then you can kind of internally, do it. Like the Richie, the one that passed away, he was technically like my lead right when I first started there, but he didn't have a title or anything like that. But he kind of just handled a lot of stuff on the floor, just out of whatever, And what we kind of do is when we recognized, and Jason's kind of already benefited this from his hire on, but when we recognize people are doing extra and other type things, we reward them. So it didn't really come with a title or anything at this point, but as far as what we generally go from temp to hire, I mean, he got a pretty good bump, just right out of the box, for that, just for the, just kind of being him and what he does every day.
Sure.
He didn't start doing that after we gave him the bump. He was doing that, so that's why he got the bump.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I have another lead, Jerome. He came in as another tip agency. I've probably had him for 6 or 7 years now, and he does pretty well with the company. And he's never asked for a raise, but I've gotten him plenty.
See, that's fantastic, and let's go there for a moment. So guys like Jason and guys like Tyrone that have come in through a service, which is not unusual, if they work hard and they're serious about it, they see this as an opportunity, they go after it, you do your best to retain them, to make sure that they realize that you have that intention of retaining them, keeping them, and then you give them a bump when you bring them on, and you give them raises. What about, because it sounds like these guys were pretty exceptional, what do you do for a person, let's say, that comes in, works hard, has good attendance, gets along with the crew, good attitude, a pleasure to work with, no drama, and let's say you hire them, but they just can't seem to break into that next level. That's just not who they are. Do they get raises too, or do they get any rewards? Or
it happens.
It happens. Okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
The company's been really good, and they've done it. I think every year that I've worked there, that they've given out a yearly raise. So not only do they partake in that every year, but there's been a few that have been, picking cases, doing nothing more than picking cases, but they were picking at a higher level. And they were recognized for that in times that weren't the yearly raise time. So it does happen. It's a little quicker ask when there's a certain skill associated with it. Yeah. It's just, hey, this guy's working hard. That's what you're really supposed to do when you come to work anyways, work hard. Right. But if he's exceeding, what everyone else is doing, you're like, well, he's the best and working the hardest and using the same effort every day. Yeah. I can sell that. But it's really easy when someone has like some kind of skill, or they kind of slide into some kind of role to get a raise. Yeah. It's easier that way.
Sure. Providing they still have they hit the general expectations. Like you said, not a high bar, come to work every day and work hard. But still, not everybody can do that consistently, it seems like these days. And again, congratulations for doing a hell of a job. But, we talked before this interview, and what he was saying reminded me of something that you said before the show. You had told me that you just try to put yourself in a position where you can be valuable.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years expecting success out of placing expectations in places that you shouldn't place expectations.
What do you mean by that?
There are always daily goals I like to meet. But I think the one principle I try to carry every day is focus on being valuable before being successful.
Now, see, that's profound.
I feel like if I can push myself to be successful, and there are external factors that can stop me from doing that. But if I can always place myself in a position to be valuable, like success is going to find me.
Jason, That is really profound. It's profound, man. And I think that is one secret to being successful, period. I have it in my work too, where, you can be doing everything right and things just, like you just said, a lot of circumstances you can't control. There's a lot more that you can't control in reality than you can. So you got to control what you can. And I love the way you frame it. Put yourself in a position to be valuable and do that consistently, and good things are going to happen more often than not, or at least eventually.
Right. Eventually, it's because I don't know. I guess I feel like if I keep myself in a valuable position, then I don't know. I guess I'm not going to be going in a negative direction.
It's absolutely correct. If you, I'm sorry, correct. I kind of jumbled my words there, but as I do sometimes. But no, I think it's very well said, and because you can get sucked under no matter what happens, man. I mean, there's just so much you can't control. And when you do that, it's almost like your philosophy that you've created for yourself kind of becomes your only lifesaver, really. There's nothing else keeping you afloat, really.
Right.
If you didn't have that, you'd just spiral down. Is that kind of what you're saying?
In a way, yeah. And
Damn it, I thought I got it exactly right.
It's a little more expanded.
Okay.
A side of seeking places to be of value. I try to find something new to learn every day, whether it could be whether it be work or social or whatever the case. It could be an array of different things, but I want new information at the end of each day. So it may not benefit me tomorrow, but no new information is definitely not going to benefit me.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. If you're trying to grow.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we used that word too when we were talking earlier, growth.
And I mean, that's another part of it. If you want to throw growth in there is, I like to look at my day at the end of the day and where was I valuable? What could I have done different? Did I handle this the right way? I ask myself this series of questions, and it helps me start the next day.
We have a program. First, let me just say again, I'm pretty amazed. I mean, it makes me think a little deeper about my own life, hearing you talk about your philosophy. You're doing like a self-audit every day, and that's impactful, man.
Well, it's hard-won experience to not just realize that's a necessary step, and that may not be for everybody, but for me, it's a necessary step to not just stay on my toes, but if some circumstance does come to derail me, give me an opportunity to pivot quicker.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, because it happens to the best of us, man. I mean, a bad day comes. You can't stop them, Your head's just not in the right space. But it's really profound. It's making me think. I really like how you approach it. And we have this program in Labor Finders. It's called the Employee of the Year. And that's coming up again. And we're going to nominate you for that.
Wow.
When we submit our material, we're going to submit this podcast as part of our presentation. There's a pretty large cash prize, and I think they fly you to Florida or something. I don't know what they do. It changes every year, but they do something, big for you, including cash. It's always good. I like cash.
Right.
It's pretty useful. But anyway, I've struggled in past years to kind of figure out who we're going to nominate. Sometimes somebody just doesn't jump out at you, and you don't want to just pick somebody, right? Just because you're supposed to pick somebody. But you're our clear nominee this year. I just want you to know that.
Oh, that's very much appreciated.
Yeah. So, in short, I'm going to ask you one more question. And I think we've answered it, but it's just like me to ask a redundant question. So, go over one more time why you rely so heavily on services to kind of get people in and for your business. You know, what are some like when you don't use a service, what are some of the downfalls up and down the chain, you know?
I mean, the one easy thing to say that it does for me is, I get to, before we make a full commitment, I get to see what type of person came in the door, what kind of attitude they have, how they work well with others. As far as skill set, it doesn't mean anything at that point right away, but I get to see, how they follow directions. Can they do the tasks that we're assigning to them? Do they look like they want to do the tasks? There's a lot of things that you kind of check off that list that you're thinking about in a job interview, but you can't answer those because, if you get somebody in there, you could have the greatest worker ever and get passed up on so many jobs because they don't interview well. And you could have the best interviewer you could ever hear that could talk you into some job that he's not qualified for and come in there and not doing anything. So, I mean, I don't want to call it a safety net, but it's a free look.
You can't screen for work ethic.
Right.
I mean, you can't test for it.
I mean, you can tell. I mean, there's always going to be the times, I'm wrong all the time, but like
Me too.
you can tell pretty early a lot of times within the first hour. If I see somebody the first hour, just kind of how they're acting, they look like they're engaging to see what do I do, or anything like that. That's a real positive for me. If when work kind of slows and we're transitioning into something new, they're the last one to kind of show up to the group. They're the last one to grab anything like that. You kind of like, not that it's time for them to go or anything, but it's like, well, I don't know what we have, but we like to give them some time. If they're coming in there every day, they're going to get quite a bit of time for me to really see what I have with them, but if they're doing that and then, week one, they're here 3 out of 5 days,
right? Probably
week 2 doesn't happen. We try to, we don't really do write-ups. I've never written anybody up there, like when I come speak to you, if you're not doing something, I guess you can call it a verbal.
Yeah.
Like we don't use those terms or anything, but if there's something going on, we do try to keep documentation, whether it's me emailing HR, such and such did this or that, or they're not here, they're late, or we try to do our due diligence to document all those things. Obviously if something not great happened and I had to just do it, luckily we've never had to do that, but that option's there, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want to let anybody go.
Well, and what's great then is with a service, all you have to do is call the service. Say, hey, I think we need to end this, but it's not the right fit for this person.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of used to that now. I kind of feel, so it's, when I see somebody that's here for a day or two and I don't really know them, obviously I feel less than someone that's been there for 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months. And I know a little bit about their life or I know a little bit about them. But, it was kind of hard for me at the beginning because it's, it's like I want to, like the one thing I don't want to do is cause a bad situation by doing it myself there where it affects other people. So it's much easier when they're not there. But part of me feels like, I should do it face to face, But, if you're not that we're dominant on temp labor, we used to be at one point, but if you have a lot of temp turnover trying to build your staff over several years, that's a lot of times that you're doing it.
Right.
And it's like, that's something I don't want to get used to.
Right. So would you say that I've been told before by not project managers, but operations managers, supervisors that, Collins, your job at Labor Finders is to work yourself out of a job. We don't want to carry a lot of temps. We want you to help us hire people, find people that we can hire. So that's kind of what you're saying, I guess, is, the ideal situation would be to get a crew in there that can handle anything that comes at you and hardly ever have to reach out for help at all because you've got what you need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever foresee the bringing in a temp employee or two ever going away there.
Yeah.
I think that's just how it's kind of going to be as we grow. We're going to do temp to hire as we grow. Even when we hire people, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to have some people that maybe go find another job, or we have some people that maybe things change and they don't want to be there, or we just can't have them there anymore.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be some turnover.
Right.
I'm hoping, I don't want it to be turnover because of anything we do.
Right.
I want them to, and that's what I know I've told you this before, and Scott, the owner, agrees. We talked about it pretty recently, is we want, and he does this pretty much too, we want this to be a place that you regret leaving here.
That's an interesting.
That you want to come back.
That's a really good idea.
And it's always, in my whole thing in the warehouse, if you use Jason, for example, take skill, learn some skills there or adds to any existing skills, and maybe he finds a job that we can't compete with, put your 2 weeks in, go do something better for yourself. If you don't like it, call me when you're done.
As long as you put your 2 weeks in and don't burn your bridge. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I think you guys have a really good approach, and I think you would agree. It seems like the culture there is a good one, and that your goal, what you said, we want to be a company that you regret leaving, that you don't want to leave, and that probably drives all these changes that you make to make it a better and better place. And, but I'm still going to try to find you people that don't stay temp long and you want to hire. So,
that's everyone. I kind of, whatever crazy philosophy that I go with to do this. Everyone, like from the last person that came in the door that you got me all the way up to Rolandis and Nicole.
Yeah.
They both serve like a weird purpose besides their normal skills with the character. Ro's like the nicest, friendliest guy ever. I'm not the go out there and hi everybody, how you doing? How was your weekend? He's that guy. So like this small portion of Ro he's like my little guy on the shoulder that's kind of doing what I can't really do personal wise, that I think some people need. Some people need that kind of thing. And he serves that purpose. Not only does, Nikki does the same thing for me out at Hazelwood. She takes that kind of personality trait that maybe is a flaw in my life and gives it to the people, and it kind of helps me just manage.
First thing I'm going to tell you is, it reminds me of someone I used to read, a business consultant, and he was big on focusing on people's strengths. Like Rose's strength, you just identified it. Nikki's strength, your strength, his strength, instead of their weaknesses, because the idea is to put the right people in the right spot so that their strengths make their weaknesses irrelevant. If you can get that going, man, you got it. And then the second thing I'm going to tell you is, you mentioned your shoulder. I'm going to get a picture of Ro. I'm going to have somebody make a bobblehead, and I'm going to bring it to you, and I want you to put it on your shoulder, take a picture, and send it to me. And Ro's on your shoulder there.
Well, that's my go-to for, everything, at the Filer Building. Nikki's my go-to. We talk every day, all day. I'm not the person that walks around the warehouse, and I'm not the chatty guy, and the thing with that is, I don't know, it's kind of a subconscious thing that I can't bring myself. I know I can't have friends there. People work for me. I try not to get too attached to any person, because I want to make like subjective decisions on them. I don't want anyone to think, well, I'm talking to him, I'm talking to Jason all the time. That's why he's getting this job.
Right.
Like I take that completely out of the equation. So it probably doesn't seem like the greatest, but it works for me.
No, I think it is great. And all that matters is that it does work for your management style. I think you have to know yourself and know your strengths too, so that you can be part of that little model that we just discussed. And you obviously have done that. So we're actually running out of time. But I do want to thank you both. And Jason, I want to thank you for being just a wonderful, I don't know, it just feels like a partnership. You know, it doesn't feel like another customer, you know, I like that. And I want to thank you for being just an amazing ambassador for our company.
I appreciate that.
And
Thank
take
you.
care. Bye. That turned out to be quite fascinating because we got to hear a client's perspective on utilizing staffing services in their hiring strategy. And of course, what a treat to hear from the employee himself, Jason Avila. Just a tremendous find. He's kind of the model that I use now when I'm recruiting for that company, looking for more people like that. But just a great opportunity to bring the whole staffing experience full circle for the viewer. You know, you got the provider, you had the operations manager, the hiring manager, and the employee who successfully transitioned onto their payroll. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, so stay tuned for the job of the week. We're getting busy at our office there in St. Louis. Both offices are. And so if you like what you see, give us a call. And please, by the way, if you've made it this far and we haven't put you to sleep, or if we have, wake up, hit the like button and share, please. It helps us grow. Thanks. See you next week.
Fire away with Collins Harlan.